It's the Open Forum on 1540 WADK. Call 846-1028, 846-1028. Now, the Open Forum on 1540 WADK.
And we welcome you, top of the afternoon. It's WADK's Open Forum, our 68-year tradition of getting it said for Newport County, Aquidneck Island, and beyond. And we often talk about leadership. We talk about motivation. We have a couple of personalities who are leaders in leadership. And we're about to meet another one. She is a TED Talk personality. She is an author, an educator, and the founder of an organization all about women in leadership. Becky Shambaugh joins us on the line. Becky, nice to have you with us.
Oh, Bruce, thank you. So great to be here today.
Well, it's good to talk to you. Tell us the name of your organization and tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I founded Women in Leadership and Learning over almost 19 years ago when it was kind of a hush-hush for really empowering and providing coaching and development for women. But it's now a global institute that draws women from all over the world to engage in either, we're doing the in-person and the virtual format, to really help women to reach their fullest potential. My company did quite a bit of research for a couple of years ago and found that while there's organizational obstacles, cultural nuances and things that aren't aligned for women's best potential, women can also get stuck on their own 2 feet. And so we really explore their strengths, but also what are those stories and narratives and mindsets going on in their head that are holding them back. And it's been a transformational program for women because of the awareness, the coaching, the peer, cross exchange, but really taking a targeted approach on helping women to be more strategic and lean into their best self. And it's actually helped them to propel forward. So just a wonderful thing that still continues to go on. And, even now with the world the way it is, the pandemic coming out of that, we're just getting a lot more folks that are women who are keenly interested in participating to come back out and create that path forward for themselves.
And that's really the key, because we're kind of looking at a new model of leadership, aren't we?
Well, we are. If you look just over across the pond, if you're in the United States, one gentleman who's really sort of amplifying this model is President Zelensky, who is tapping into all of the natural standards, or if you will, skills and perspectives that leaders who happen to be women naturally demonstrate. And to me, that's really been the key to his success, is knowing how to unify people, building more cohesion and trust among his people, his team, demonstrating that humility and that empathy, while, of course, still holding people accountable and having that mission and that vision focus. So this is really getting the eyes of so many people, and I think sometimes you need to see it over and over again to see and believe that this is possible and it is working. So I will say that women have the opportunity, not to discount men, but to really lean in and set those new standards of leadership as we come back out from this pandemic and really reshaping what the workforce looks like, what leaders look like, and what's going to be important for them to dial in and to be successful.
It's interesting to think about bringing people together, because there have been too many people on both sides, for good and for bad, who want to kind of divide and conquer that way. And that's never worked. Do I understand this right, that the key to maybe this new model of leadership is actually bringing people together?
Yes, that is. I call that smart power. Instead of the traditional, I feel like we've kind of come back in the dark ages, right, Bruce? But right. I think it's really having those difficult conversations, really having that, if you will, rational debate, and knowing that it's not a win or a lose, but it's that smart power to know how to connect, how to build that rapport, and understanding that we all are much better together. That's kind of a cliche. But it's not sustainable to use force, right? And people will not follow you, particularly in this world, by using the type of force that, even in a hierarchical organization, which we still see, those models aren't going to take the companies and organizations and institutions into the future. People are just engaged and aligned in a different way. And we're learning that through these unparalleled events and the pandemic.
Yeah. What seems to be coming out here, Becky Shambaugh, is that we do need leaders. I mean, it's all very nice to say, oh, we're all in this together and we can all lead each other and it takes a village and all these other expressions. We need leadership. We need somebody to get out there in front, don't we?
Well, again, I'll use the model of Zelensky. He's out in front. I mean, he gave an option to be, taken somewhere else safe and secure and
sure.
away from all the danger, but he decided I want to be on the front lines.
Yeah, that's a great point.
All I need is just the artillery and the support and infrastructure from our allied nations, right? And so great leaders today don't hide from the chaos. They don't hide from the unparalleled dynamics they haven't experienced before. They're out in front. They lead their people. They roll their sleeves up. But they have an inspired vision, which Zelensky has done, to really connect with the hearts and minds and values of the people. And as opposed to sitting at the top of the helm and directing. And so this is really, really important to really connect with people and bring them along, but also feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves. And when you do that, people do come along. People want to lean in and give their best self, their highest good, and support something to a leader that really espouses to connect, and people are very important to the overall success.
We're talking about women in leadership and things, and women still continue to make incremental progress in the workforce on boards and institutions. What needs to really happen to break the cycle?
There is a cycle, and it's not just a fad or a trend. It's real, and it's going to stay here. In fact, there is clearly a labor shortage, and the most recent statistics that I've seen is that 50% of men, if not more, feel more empowered than men in the workforce post-pandemic. But that's been going on for some time. And the gap continues to get bigger. More men are coming back to their jobs full-time where women are not. So there's a GDP economic impact to that, but it's also companies are going to be drained with talent and leadership if this continues to happen. So I think starting at the top, there needs to be intentional board accountability. Not just to talk about it, to put it on the website, but to ensure that their leadership demonstrate commitment and action to really provide access and equitable opportunities, not just for all, but really preparing people to be successful, as opposed to just saying we're going to take the most qualified candidate. Well, there may be more men right now that would be more qualified because they've been in that lane longer. But I think making intentional sort of commitments and to provide that greater sense of opportunity and growth and development for all talent so we can grow within. And that happens to be those of diversity and those of women too. So in a couple of years, in 18 months, you'll have more of that bench and that pipeline to tap in from. There's also the board accountability in terms of the representation of a board. And are they diverse? Do they map back to what they want the organization to be? So there's a lot at the very top there that if that's not happening, that it's not going to trickle down to the next level and the next level. I think the other is if you look at pipeline development for the first 5 to 8 years, women continue to thrive at the same level, with the exception of women of color, right? They already start at a misrepresented, underrepresented rate. But in general, 5 to 6 years, men are surpassing women. And that's a lot because of the family, elderly care, want to have kids. And women still have taken that on more so than men. And so there needs to be a disruptive sort of, if you will, agenda to really create more flexibility for work and life for men and women, to be able to work and have children at the same time and being able to manage all of this. Women are still, home care, taking care of the kids. During the pandemic, it was the virtual classroom at home. And there's a significant amount of burnout. So that's a major, major effort that needs to happen across the board from a policy perspective, but also from a cultural and practical practice perspective within the organizations. I will say, though, that women shouldn't be selling themselves short, because I think when you have disruption, there's usually great opportunity for change within a certain window. So I'm inviting women to really lean in and ask for those things that they want and that they need, right? To really create an opportunity to go back and negotiate your job and what that looks like. So you can not just leave the organization, but stay and negotiate some types of terms that allows you to have the family, to do to work at the obligations that you have at work, but to be able to balance that better. Now, I will say that women notoriously have not asked for those things, but I think it's all about coming in, particularly right now when there's so many reorgs, and to re-architect your job. Brainstorm that with some colleagues and some mentors and such, and then go in and make that ask, right? And be willing to negotiate with that. I think that's really key to help, not just totally solve, but help to manage this great disruption and resignation of women. And there are sticky floors. The first book I wrote, it's not a glass ceiling, it's a sticky floor. That was what the TED Talk was on, Bruce. But I think sometimes our own narrative, that voice going in our head, can self-defeat our best selves. So as I talked about negotiating, asking for what you want, really taking those risks and getting out of our comfort zone a little bit, to developing, here's what's really important right now, is to really develop those important supportive relationships that can give us feedback, that can be ambassadors for us, that will mentor and sponsor us, or we can flip that and be the same for other women. So I think those are just a few of the things that are sticky floors that sometimes we will take a pass on. And the other last thing I will say is for women, which applies to men, but is to know your value. So many things have shifted and changed, and the value proposition of organizations could be changing too. So find out the lane that you can really play in and bring that value and lean into that. Do some research around the organization. Understand what are some of the key priorities, key challenges, and be that active participant to really reshape your job, they call that your brand, your reputation, your value, to align with the changing trends that are happening in the organization, and be intentional around that, right? So those are just a few of the things that I encourage women to do. I mentioned to you our Women's Leadership Institute is kicked back in person. And I will say, in a positive note, there's just so much energy because the women are really excited and reinvigorated to create that fresh path and that fresh start for themselves. So this is how I think we all should look at this, is a fresh start, to reset, to reframe and reboot our personal lives and our leadership and working lives.
Well, no question, Becky Shambaugh. Now, you, of course, are inspirational to a lot of people, and you do this through your TED Talks and through your podcast. Tell us about your podcast.
Well, over the pandemic, like all of us, we were home, not traveling, and I used to spend a lot of time in planes. So I thought, well, what can I do that would be purposeful, that would help to inspire and to reinvigorate, others around me, including myself. So I created a podcast called Women Rise, which is on all social media platforms, and it includes guests that come from all walks of life, visionaries, executive, leaders, folks that are on boards, institutions, anybody who's really out there having an impact in society and community, and really having more of an intimate, conversation with them and how they're managing the pandemic and what are some of the things that they're seeing in terms of how they're getting involved.
Talking with Becky Shambaugh, and we're speaking about her works and her books and her podcasts and all kinds of things like that. So having a great chat here today, and we'll continue in just a minute here in the open forum.
WADK FM 101.1, W266DI Newport.
This is the Open Forum. We are speaking with author, TED Talk personality, podcaster, and of course, leader of women, Becky Shambaugh. So, Becky, where can we subscribe to your podcast?
Well, it's easy. All you have to do is go on any social media platform, such as Apple, Spotify, and just bring up Women Rise Podcast or my name, and you'll be able to listen in.
Excellent. And where can we find your TED Talks all up where we usually find TED Talks?
Well, the easiest thing is to go right to our website at www.shambaghleadership.com. You'll be able to see all the events and our women's leadership programs and institutes. And all kinds of, articles and blogs, lots of good resources there to learn more about not only what we're doing, but you can pick up some tips and ideas and practices. So around your leadership as a woman, as a man, and particularly right now is hopefully take advantage of some of the opportunities that we have now to really create that new path forward. Just as the Women Rise podcast is doing, this is a great opportunity to really re-inspire and to reboot and just to re-energize our leadership today. It's so, so important.
Fantastic. So good to talk to you. We look forward to hearing much, much more from Becky Shambaugh. Great to talk to you.
Thank you, Bruce, and you as well.
Take good care. Thanks for being with us. Women Rise, Becky Shambaugh. And she has a lot to offer and great words here on a Monday. You bet. Our number here, as always, is 846-102-8401,